Hi there, this is Ranjit, and in this video, we'll be comparing the Moto G3, that is the 2015 model, with the Samsung Galaxy J7. And both of these are sort of mid-range Android phone, and I have to say both of these phones are very good Android phones. And we'll compare which one is better for you in this video. The Moto G3 that I'm going to compare is the 16GB model that comes with 2GB of RAM, and this is priced in India for 13,000. Whereas the Galaxy J7 comes with 16GB of internal storage but 1.5 gigs of RAM, and this is available again for 15,000. And both these devices are sold in India via Flipkart. I'll have the links in the show notes. And again, there are subtle differences. In fact, I would say if you talk about the processors, it's largely very different because the Moto G3 uses the mid-range processor, that is the Snapdragon 410 chipset. It's a quad-core processor. And in terms of the GPU, it has the Adreno 306 GPU. Whereas this Galaxy J7 uses the new Samsung's own Exynos processor, which is an octa-core processor. It is the Exynos 7580, and it also comes with a Mali GPU, that's the T720. And in fact, I would say I was a little bit skeptical about the performance of this new chipset, but the performance overall of this chipset is very good. And also in terms of battery life, I would say the new chipset is very power efficient. But again, there are some differences. Let's talk about them, and I made some pointers, so let's go over them. Let's first talk about the design. Again, it's very different. This Moto G3 has a 5-inch screen, whereas this J7, we can call it sort of a phablet because it has a 5.5-inch screen. In terms of screen resolution, both have same 720p screen resolution, but in terms of the screen technology, it's completely different. The Moto G3 uses an IPS grade screen, whereas on the J7, it's a Super AMOLED screen. So in fact, I would say in terms of vibrancy and contrast, obviously the Galaxy J7 looks better. If you compare both of them side by side, the colors etc. would look a lot more punchier on the J7. But again, in terms of in-hand feel, I feel the Moto G3 is a lot more comfortable to hold because it can easily fit in a single hand, whereas the J7 is a big device. And also one more thing is that the J7 back is very glossy. It does not offer any grip. So I feel in terms of in-hand design, the Moto G3 goes ahead because it's a lot more comfortable. And on this back we have this pattern, so it offers a lot more grip. Again, as I told you, regarding the screen quality, here I would have to give the edge to the Galaxy J7. Let's move on. Now if we talk about the battery life, here things change. Obviously the Moto G3 has a slightly lower capacity battery life, but again, before we compare, one thing I have to say is that the battery life that I was getting on both these devices is very good, and both these devices should last you easily for a full working day. So in terms of battery life, both of them are very good. But again, if I have to pick a winner here, I would say the Galaxy J7 goes slightly ahead. With the Moto G3, I was able to get a screen on time of about 4.5 hours, which is actually very good with my kind of usage. But with this J7, I could easily last for about 5.5 hours. So I would say the battery life you can get on the J7 is approximately 15 to 20% better than the Moto G3. One thing I did notice with the Galaxy J7 is that there is almost no idle drain. So Samsung did a good job in terms of standby time. So the standby time that you can get on the J7 is also very good. Now, if we talk about the cameras, here again, if we talk about the raw specs, it's very similar. Both of these have a 13 megapixel rear facing camera and a 5 megapixel front facing camera. Let's first talk about the rear facing camera. And here are some sample shots that I've taken with both the devices. I would say in outdoor conditions, both the devices do very good. But again, if we move to semi-indoor conditions, here the situation changes a little bit, and I was surprised that the Moto G3 did slightly better. But again, if we talk about photography in very low lighting conditions, I would say both of them struggle up a bit, and you have to be really careful, otherwise the pictures can come out to be shaky. Now Now if we move to the front facing camera, here I would give the edge to the Galaxy J7. The front facing camera on the J7 is just better than the front facing camera that we find on the Moto G3. The Moto G3 front facing camera is not bad, and in outdoor conditions it can take some good shots, but I did notice that when we move to artificial lighting, the J7 does a lot better thanks to that f1.9 lens. Now if we talk about the video with the front facing camera, here again the J7 goes ahead, and the J7 can record video in full HD even from the front facing camera, whereas from the Moto G3 it's only up to 720p. So I would say in terms of rear facing camera, both of them are close to each other, but again with the front facing camera the J7 goes ahead. Now if we talk about the UI, here things change considerably. Again, as this Moto G is a Motorola device, it's very close to stock Android experience that you get, apart from just two specific Motorola apps. You could say sort of a pure Android experience that you are getting. And this Moto G3 also comes with the latest version of Android out of the box, that's the Android 5.1. Now if we move to the J7, again as it's a Samsung device, we have that TouchWiz, but thankfully it's the new TouchWiz that we see. So it's not that bloated, and good thing is that it comes out of the box with Android Lollipop 5.1, and for the most part I would say it's a very fluid experience. With both the devices, I did not notice any major lagging while using, but again I would say if you look very closely in both the devices, I would say I did notice some stuttering here and there, I would say about 2% of the time, but that's sort of nitpicking. Overall I would say both of these devices did very well in terms of general performance. Now if we talk about games, I did play a lot of games with both the devices, that is the Moto G3 and even the Galaxy J7. And here I would say the Galaxy J7 went slightly ahead. Both of these devices had no problems playing casual games to even mid-level heavy games, but in some very heavy games, I did notice that, for example, on the Nova 3, the Moto G struggled up a little bit, whereas the Galaxy J7 ran even Nova 3 very well. So in terms of raw gaming, I would say I would give the slight edge to the Galaxy J7. Now if we talk about cellular call quality, here I'm happy to say that both these devices performed very well, and I had no problems regarding the cellular call quality. But again, one con that I faced with this Galaxy J7 is that the speaker output is a little bit low to my liking. So when I was using the speaker phone, I always felt that the volume level was low. That was not the case with the Moto G3. The Moto G3 also has a single speaker, but the speaker is loud and clear. Now if we talk about the pricing, as I have already mentioned, there's a price difference about 2,000 rupees. The Moto G3 sells for 13,000, whereas the J5 sells for 15,000. And again, there is also one more variant of the Moto G3 that is available for 12,000. That comes with 8 gigabytes of internal storage. Don't go for that if you're going for the Moto G3, or for the 16 gigabyte version, because it has 2 gigs of RAM. Now, as you see, both these devices are fairly good Android devices, and again, as I mentioned, the differences lie in the screen quality, etc. But in one aspect, I would say Motorola really goes ahead compared to the Samsung Galaxy J7 is in terms of the sensors. For example, this Moto G3 has all the important sensors. For example, it has the auto brightness sensor, it has the compass sensor, etc. But if we move to the J7, again being Samsung, they did not even offer an auto brightness sensor, so you have to manually adjust the brightness. Also in terms of the sensors, we don't even have basic sensors like compass, etc. And also the backlit buttons here don't have backlighting over here, and also they don't provide any haptic feedback. So in terms of sensors, I would say definitely Motorola did a very good job. So again, these are some of the differences between the Moto G3 and the Galaxy J7. And I would say it comes down to personal preferences. I would say if you're very picky about the screens, definitely the screen is better on the J7. But again, I do miss the fact that Samsung has omitted the basic sensors like the ambient light sensor, no haptic feedback, compass, etc. In those aspects, I feel the Moto G3 offers a overall better package in my opinion. Again, I have already posted my full review of the Moto G3, so you can check out that for details, and I'll also be posting the in-depth review for the Galaxy J7 very soon, so stay tuned to my channel. Thanks for watching, and if you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. This is Ranjit, and I hope to see you in my next video.